Hello people, I'm Ginnymetheral and I'm a fourth generation witch. Today's video is part of my True Scary Stories series because, of course, it's coming up for Halloween, and don't we all enjoy a little bit of a fright night at Halloween? This True Scary Story is all about some clowns. I haven't done a true scary story for quite a while, at least a year or so, and I really enjoy them. This story, in fact, was researched by the incredible and legendary Tom Slemon of Liverpool, who's the most amazing paranormal investigator living today, in my opinion. I would say I've got one of his books right here for you, but I can't because they're all on my Kindle, because I'm so blind that I can only read on a Kindle, so I can make the words really big. However, I have read all of his books, thoroughly recommend them. They're very interesting. For those who aren't of a witchcraft mind, they're just fascinating in themselves. Clowns have been terrifying people for millennia. Yut Say was the oldest clown that I could find, who was part of the imperial court of Qin Shi Huang Ti, if I've pronounced that right, the bloke who built the Great Wall of China. Clowns and court jesters are really very much interchangeable. They have this ability to be rude to people without fear of reprisal. So in the court of King Henry I, there was a very famous clown called Rahere, or court jester, who spent his whole time mocking the king, mocking his decisions, making his courtiers laugh and being extremely funny. He was very much revered by the king and, considered a great part, an important part of his court. Rahere, who was jester to King Henry I in the 11th century, went on a pilgrimage to the city of Rome, where the good Christian folk would gather in those days, and promptly caught malaria. And he made a pact with God. I love these Christians making a pact with God. I personally don't think that God works like that, but hey, whatever floats your boat. He made a pact with God that if he got better, he would build a great priory and hospital for the poor. He came back to London, and in Smithfield, in London, he built the Priory of St Bartholomew. Today, it's known as the Great Teaching Hospital, St Bart's, formed by a clown, no less. Clowns were popularised, really, by the Italians in the late 1800s, and they brought this art form to England with their harlequin, who wore these wonderful red and yellow diamond-patterned suits and were mime artists and jokers. There was a big sort of pantomime or play, really, and this was brought to England and performed all over the country, much to the acclaim of everybody. And it is from here that we get that accursed clown, Mr. Punch, who terrified me, utterly terrified me as a child, yet fascinated me at the same time. I mean, he was quite the most wicked man, wasn't he? What with murdering his wife for the entertainment of children. There used to be quite a lot of tomato ketchup flying around at the Punch and Judy shows that I went to. They were quite scary. In this day and age, we slightly frown upon them, and I haven't seen one at the seaside for a very long time. I presume they must still be around. They were utterly terrifying, and there was an awful lot of ketchup that I seem to remember was squirted about over the audience when they were doing the scene where he kills his wife and beats her to death. It's quite an interesting play to be put on for children. The most famous clown is perhaps Grimaldi, who came to London from Italy and became part of a circus, and it is from him where we get the real circus clown. Fool in a tarot card pack and the jester of a normal playing card deck are thought to be part of this clown scenario, but nobody really knows. It's obviously something that is deeply embedded in our culture and the culture of a wide variety of people. Clowns have some interesting traditions, slightly creepy in my opinion. But to become a member of the sort of a league of clowns, or I don't know exactly what they call themselves, but it was common practice for a clown to take an egg and paint his visage upon the egg and his clown face. That egg was then sent to the Council for Clowns, who would approve it. It was a way of copywriting their facial paint. Wookey Hole has a collection of these eggs and clown painted eggs, and I long to go there and find out what energy is happening around these eggs, because I'm sure it's pretty horrific, actually. Pretty scary stuff, I should imagine, and they've definitely got some haunting going on there. So back to my story. This is a true scary story, and it happened in, I believe, the 1970s, late 1970s, early 1980s. I'm not sure of the exact date because these have not been given. Tom and his friends went to the local fairground that was happening in a park outside of Liverpool. The fair was a typical English fairground with dodgems and a hooker duck, people selling candy floss, and a wonderful array of great things to eat and drink and music and lights and everything that you could possibly want in a fairground. Entertaining the crowds as they passed through, there was a clown. Tom was standing by the coconut shy, and he purchased at 5p a cloud of candy floss to eat from the 50p that his mother had given him for the fair. His friends were trying to knock the coconut. Now, in those days, coconuts were a luxury item in the UK. We just didn't see them, a bit like avocados. Nobody really knew about them. Whilst he was watching his friends, he was approached by a clown. This clown had a harlequin jumpsuit with big red buttons, a large red nose, and the obligatory white makeup. His eyes were 2 crosses, and he had 3 tufts of green hair which stuck out from the top and the sides of his head. As the clown walked towards Tom and his friends, a woman came out of the sides and, seeing the clown, went bright red in the face and took her handbag and hit the clown over the head with it again and again and again. And the clown, naturally, although he was tall, cowered slightly, ran off and disappeared. The woman was so incensed she had to be held back by a couple of security guards. Tom was a naturally curious boy, so he went up and hung around listening to what the woman was saying. It turns out that the year previously she'd had a little boy and she'd brought him to that same fair. She'd given the boy his 50p to go and spend on the rides, and with that 50p he had bought some boiled sweets. Whilst he was eating a boiled sweet, the sweet got stuck within his throat. The boy started to turn blue and choked. Whilst he was doing so, the clown came up, and in a strange parody, he lay down beside the boy who was on the floor at this point. He lay down on his back, he kicked his heels in the air and kicked his hands up in a dreadful parody of a choking child, instead of helping the boy. And very sadly, that boy died. The clown was not seen again. When she asked the fairground who it was, nobody knew. She made some further investigations. It turned out that this clown did not belong to the fairground. This fairground claimed no relationship to the clown. However, whenever he appeared in this fairground, a child would choke, and whilst the child was choking, the clown would be miming horrifically the dying actions of the child. And this had happened not once, not twice, but 3 times to this woman's knowledge. And nobody could find out who this clown was. When they went out to search for him and speak to the management of the fairground, again, they said, we just don't know. They knew that he had been plaguing their fairground because they had had these cases of the choking children, but nobody could find out who or what the clown was. Sad story, that one. A bit horrific, really. But clowns are horrific, aren't they? A short video to give you a little thrill for Halloween. Do you have any clown stories? I'd love to hear them. Any scary ones especially, put them down in the comments below. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next week.